If a marketplace payment has to pay a seller and a platform out of one card charge, why doesn't the platform just collect everything and pay the seller later? Because holding other people's money is a liability. A marketplace split payment settles the seller and the platform from the same authorization, so no float sits on the platform's books. In Hyperswitch, you do this through one field, split payments, on the payment create call. And the interesting part is what sits inside that field, because Stripe Connect and Adyen for platforms want completely different bodies, and Hyperswitch hands each one its own native shape. Every marketplace transaction has three parties: the customer, the seller, and the platform. A split payment is a single customer charge that settles across those parties at authorization time, instead of landing whole in one account. Take a marketplace that sells handmade goods and keeps a 10% commission. A customer pays $100. The seller should get $90. The platform keeps $10. Now, if we did this without split payments, the platform collects the full $100 and owes the seller $90 on a separate transfer later. And that deferred model creates three problems: cash flow risk, while the platform holds funds; reconciliation overhead, matching payouts to sales; and regulatory exposure, from holding money that isn't yours. Splitting at authorization removes all three. The payment service provider, the PSP, settles to each party's account according to the split rules attached to the charge. There's no secondary transfer and no float held by the platform. The infrastructure underneath is Stripe Connect for Stripe-routed transactions, and Adyen for platforms for Adyen-routed transactions. Both give sellers their own sub-merchant settlement accounts, and both accept split instructions alongside the authorization. Hyperswitch also supports Zendit for this. But Stripe and Adyen are where the two models differ most, so those are the two we'll talk about today. Here's Stripe's payload. On the payment create call, you pass a split payments object, and inside it, a connector-specific key. For Stripe, that key is Stripe split payment. Four things carry the split. Charge type is either direct or destination, and that choice decides who the merchant of record is. Application fees is the platform's cut in minor units, $1,000 here for a $10 commission on a $100 charge. Transfer account ID is the seller's connected account. The difference between the two charge types comes down to who owns the transaction. On a direct charge, the payment is created on the seller's connected account. The customer's bank statement shows the seller's name. Stripe's fees come out of the seller's account, and the platform's cut is pulled up as an application fee. The seller is the merchant of record. On a destination charge, the payment is created on the platform's account. The statement shows the platform's name. Stripe's fees come out of the platform, and the seller's share is transferred out to the transfer account ID after the platform keeps its cut. The platform is the merchant of record. Hyperswitch passes charge type, application fees, and transfer account ID through to Stripe on the create call, and returns charge ID in the payment response. That's the Stripe charge identifier on the connected or platform account, and it's your handle for everything downstream: refunds, disputes, reconciliation. Now watch the same split payments field carry a completely different body. For Adyen, the key is Adyen split payment, and instead of a charge type and a fee number, Adyen wants an array. Each entry in split items has a split type, an amount, an optional account, and a reference. Split type decides what the entry means. Balance account books an amount to a specific seller account, so it needs an account. Commission is the platform's cut. VAT books tax. And there are more types for Adyen's own fee handling: acquiring fees, payment fee, and the rest. Adyen calculates those. 2 Adyen-specific gotchas. The store field is required for Adyen's platform model and omitted for the marketplace model. So if you're on platform and leave it out, the split fails. And the amounts across split items have to add up to the total. That last one, Hyperswitch checks for you. We'll come back to it. Same envelope again for Zendit if you route there, through Zendit split payment. The pattern doesn't change. Instead, the split payments field is one tagged shape with 3 variants, one per connector. You hand over Stripe's body or Adyen's body, and Hyperswitch routes that native body to the right connector, untouched. What gets unified is everything around the split. The same payment call, the same lifecycle, the same charge ID on the response, the same split refunds path on refunds. The split object itself stays native, on purpose. And before any of that leaves Hyperswitch, it validates the split. For Stripe, application fees can't be larger than the total amount, or the request is rejected. For Adyen, the split items amounts have to equal the payment total. And if they don't, Hyperswitch stops the call with, quote, sum of split amounts should be equal to the total amount, before Adyen ever sees it. Per split type, Hyperswitch also checks the required fields. Balance account needs an account, commission and VAT need an amount. So a malformed split fails fast at the orchestration layer with a field-level message instead of a vague connector error. Refunds follow the same shape. The refund request carries split refunds, and inside it, the connector key. Stripe split refund, or the Adyen equivalent. For a Stripe direct charge, set revert platform fee to true, so the application fee goes back to the seller's account before the refund runs. If you leave it out, the platform keeps a fee on a sale that no longer exists. For a destination charge, you need both flags: revert platform fee and revert transfer. Revert transfer pulls the seller's transferred share back to the platform before the refund fires. Without it, the refund can fail. Because the money already settled to the seller, and the platform account may not have the funds to cover it. For Adyen, you pass the same split item structure in the refund with proportional amounts. Refund half the payment, each split item reflects half. For subscriptions and recurring marketplace billing, the split rides along with the mandate flow. The customer-initiated transaction, the CIT, sets up the mandate with setup future usage off session, and it needs the customer ID. Each later charge is a merchant-initiated transaction, the MIT, run against the stored payment method ID. The split configuration is set per payment from the request and lives on the payment intent. Because each MIT is its own payment, it carries the split payload again, transfer account ID and application fees for Stripe, or the split items for Adyen. The customer doesn't reauthorize, but your MIT call still specifies the split. So a subscription marketplace that takes a seller's revenue share every cycle sends the split on every cycle's MIT. There are 3 steps to wire this up. First, configure the connector. This is where your sellers get their own accounts at the PSP. On Stripe, that's a connected account, set up through Stripe Connect onboarding. On Adyen, it's a balance account you configure in the customer area. Hyperswitch holds your platform credentials, and you hand it the sub-merchant IDs per payment, inside split payments. Second, send the split on the create call. You pass one of 2 things inside split payments: Stripe split payment or Adyen split payment, depending on where you're routing. Third, handle refunds. And this one depends on the charge type. A Stripe direct charge takes revert platform fee. A destination charge takes both flags. And Adyen? Same split items you sent the first time, just proportional to what you're refunding. And that's the whole shape. One field, split payments. Connector scoped by design. Each connector keeps its own native model, instead of everything collapsing into one lowest common denominator format. Thanks for watching! The full docs are at docs.hyperswitch.io, and the architecture write-up is linked in the description. If this was useful, like and subscribe for more Hyperswitch deep dives.